was amazing. Well,
Hey,
look,
good to meet you.
Yeah, good to meet you too. This is cool.
Yeah, man.
I'm excited about this. We only really planned this a week or two ago. And I was super excited to get the call from your record label and say you were in town. And I was like, 100%. So look, hey, everybody, if you haven't realized already, this is Tyler Bryant from Tyler Bryant, The Shakedown. A guitar player that I guess lots of guitarists will have probably known you for a while now, because you kind of smashed it onto the scene pretty young. The Shakedowns is a wicked band that, you know, I'm slightly embarrassed to say I probably only listened to lots of it over the last couple of weeks, but I'm just like, this is, I love the direction it's in, love the kind of the more laid back rocky vibe. But as is always the way when I get the chance to meet guys like you, I'm always fascinated by, you know, what it was when you were growing up, that how the connection to the guitar happened and all that. So take us back, take us to, like, you know, family life and
oh man,
how you first were introduced to this.
Yeah, it was an interesting journey for sure. I mean, as it is with most players. But it started mainly my grandfather, who wasn't around very much at all. He would I maybe can think of 3 times that I saw him in my childhood.
Right.
But he had an old acoustic guitar, an old Ovation acoustic guitar, one of the ones that you can't even hold because it's so slippery. And he showed me how to go, you know, which is the first thing a lot of people learn. Then you go to the A and then you go to the D.
At least he had a good shuffle, right? Right out the blocks.
Yeah,
it's like...
and you know, I kind of kept that in the back of my mind and thought, oh, I can play the guitar. And then in first grade, I saw Elvis, a video in the music class, when music class was still a thing, and just instantly obsessed. Not so much with the guitar, but just with the effect that music was having on people. You see all the people going crazy over Elvis Presley, and so I got a little acoustic guitar from a garage sale one of my family members bought, and surprised me when I woke up. There was a guitar next to my bed, and you know, I just kind of carried it around and acted like I was playing it, but I didn't know how to play it. It only had 3 strings on it, and it was when I was 11 years old. I went into a music shop to get strings, and there was a man named Roosevelt Twitty sitting in a corner playing some Lightning Hopkins style blues, like. You know, that kind of thing. Yeah. And I was immediately just like, I don't know what that is, but that is what I want to do forever. Like, I loved it. I was so moved. And I had a dirt bike as a kid, and I put the dirt bike on sale in the front yard with a sign, and got a Epiphone Les Paul on layaway.
That's great.
And, you know, once the dirt bike sold, I got to pick up the guitar. It was like $50 to put it on layaway. And I'm sure I had to, like, mow the yard for that or something. And just started kind of getting into the whole, like, culture.
Were your mum and dad musical or supportive? No, so it's just this granddad of yours.
My mom and dad were supportive, but not musical. You know, like, my mom, you know, didn't listen to much music, and my dad would listen to a lot of really great country music, like Hank Jr. and Rodney Crowell and George Jones, like a lot of, like, really good stuff. And occasionally I would hear, you know, some of Aerosmith's greatest hits, or I remember he had the Big Ones record, and then he had Bob Seger. Okay. So old time rock and roll was one I loved, and you know, I just started kind of just listening to every bit of music I could find. But I went back into the guitar shop, and that guy Roosevelt Twitty was in there, and he said, if you want to learn to play the blues, I'll teach you. And he became my best friend. He started picking me up from school, would play me John Lee Hooker cassettes.
You get a contract out, you had to sign it in blood, and you think, I've seen this in a movie somewhere. I'm not sure if this is a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it was pretty cool. Like, he just gave me, you know, he gave me like a Freddie King VHS to go home, and I just started studying, and it was never like, it never felt like going to guitar lessons. It was like, I'm going to hang out with my friend and we're going to listen to records. And he kind of created this environment for me. We'd get together in his living room, and And he would play like just like an E shuffle and say, go up here and just try notes. Don't be afraid to mess up. And that took all of the pressure off because I knew I had a safe place to sound horrible. So
I'm apologies, I'm not familiar with the name. So is he a reasonably well-known name in the sort of Texas scene, or he's just a dude that you met?
No, the people in Texas definitely, a lot of people knew who he was. But he was like the guy that would show up at a blues jam and be the showstopper. Right. You know, not flashy. For example, like this, if this says anything, I believe he attended a Church of Christ church, which they don't have music normally, but they would let him play his guitar and sing because he was, he just was that special. And he never wanted to do it professionally. He drove a bus in Kansas City for almost 20 years. So one of the go-to songs was "Going to Kansas City, here I come."
That's great. What a cool story.
Yeah, actually, I have his name tattooed right here.
Man, that's sweet.
Because just him kind of sharing music with me changed the whole course and direction of my life, and it's kind of a reminder to me that music is really powerful, man. It can do a lot of good for people, and I watched it kill racism in my own family. I grew up in the South. Yeah. And it's like to have this old black man just running around with this young white kid in the most country place of all time, and it's like music is powerful enough to kill all that stuff. It's really cool. But yeah, that was how it all started.
Yeah, it's without wanting to sort of dwell on that, fair play to your mum and dad as well, because I can imagine a lot of mums and dads would go, hang on a second, this is not cool, is it? My kid running around with an old dude. But it's like you say, I think music brings the best, out of those kind of relationships, doesn't it? All of a sudden, age, colour, religion, everything sort of goes out the window. If you start looking at someone playing licks, you're just like, show me what you did there, or what, it's like all of a sudden everything's cool.
It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
So how old were you when you really started to think, I could do this, I could make this my life as opposed to just,
Oh man, I was probably 11.
Like 5 minutes after you got there.
Yeah, exactly. No, it was. I remember vividly. We played at this place called the Roxton Cafe. Mr. Twitty and I did, and he was playing an old Gibson Melody Maker, which when he passed, he left to me. So I have that guitar now. And I had a Strat that I was playing, and we played for 3.5 hours for a steak, and that's what I thought we were getting paid. And then they gave us each $100.
Nice.
And
at
so
11.
Yeah.
All your Christmases have come at once.
Totally. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do this forever because I can get rich. Obviously. Little did I know. But yeah, and then as I started getting older, I somehow ended up at a Black Crowes concert right around 15, and I realized that rock and roll was just blues with longer hair and more distortion and
a bit faster.
Yeah, and there was this sort of brotherhood mentality between the band members that I wanted, and I wanted to have some guys to run around and make noise with, and so when I was 17, I moved to Nashville and started the Shakedown.
Yeah, that's some brave old move there, because I was talking to Caleb earlier on, and obviously he'd gone to Nashville for university and to follow music, but obviously at least going into the sort of the comfort factor of an educational kind of institute, you just went, didn't you? Just to be musical. I mean, that's like at 17. That's a you must have had some. It's a brave move, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I just knew. I think when you know, and I had worked out a way. I had to drop out of school because they wouldn't let me graduate early. I had waited too long to decide, and because I didn't know, what happened was I played a show in Nashville, and I realized this city is really cool. I feel like it's calling my name.
Yeah.
When you know, and so I went to school and I said, "Can I graduate like now?" Because I only had 1 credit left, and they said no. So I dropped out of school, enrolled in this online class.
Right.
Got my last credit. And during the year there was a lot more to it than that. It was a lot of like jumping through hoops, and I had to pass like a test with flying colors, and which was very difficult. But the whole year that I was supposed to be going to school for my senior year, I got an apartment in Nashville.
Yeah.
I started really diving into songwriting, and started the band.
Yeah.
And we immediately got on the road. Within like 2 weeks, we'd found an agent.
That's crazy.
We were hustling, man. You know, I mean, I used to call people and pretend I was our manager and be like, I represent this band. You know, and just desperately trying to get gigs and opportunities. And
was Nashville everything you thought it would be? Because there's a you're talking about Nashville 10 years ago or so.
It was a lot different 10 years ago. Yeah,
I went last year for the first time, and it felt to me like it had come way more touristy than I thought it was going to be, and also as well, it's like a brutal place, I think, now to try and break it as an artist, because like everyone in the audience is going like, let's just check this guy out, like, you know, my band's going to be better than his band. It's like, well, okay.
Yeah, dude, we play Nashville once a year, maybe twice a year. You moved to Nashville for the community, for the, you know, and like, yeah, sure, there are a lot of touristy areas like Broadway, you know, with all the history that's there, with, you know, you've got Roberts and the Ryman and Ernest Tubb, and but yeah, it's touristy. That's where like, you know, they have bachelor parties and stuff, and people ride around on those goofy pedal taverns where they drink.
It's like, what do you call your, like, we have hen party where girls go before
exactly that.
And it's like, I'm standing there going, I've seen about 50 of these trucks going around just with like loads of girls on the back all getting drunk. It's like, what is this? It's like,
if we're pedaling, the beer's not bad for, you know, it's like, it's like, just sit down and enjoy it.
When you were going through those kind of, you know, you're talking about, you know, that period in your early teens, and you've really, you know, putting the hours in on the guitar, and you're 17, moving to Nashville, all that kind of stuff. Who were your guitar idols at the time that you were just sort of thinking, you know, was there?
Yeah, it was Jeff Beck, hands down. You know, that was one of my big ones. Johnny Winter was huge. Billy Gibbons, you know, I remember I got the Fandango record and Jeff Beck's Guitar Shop record on the same day.
Right.
So that was a big day for me.
So Guitar Shop stuff as well. I mean,
yeah, I loved like Big Block was a.
Yeah, I was about to say that's. I've always struggled with like getting through a whole Jeff Beck album, and you know, normally there's one or two complete gems on every one, but it's not easily accessible, is it? You know, it's quite deep. You know, you got to get into it and appreciate some of the unusualness.
Sometimes it takes time too to. You ever feel that with records? Like you get a record and it takes. You might not. You put it in and you're like, I don't know if that's for me. And then a year later you put it in and it's your favorite thing.
I think that's the saddest thing about the way music's listened to now. You know, when I
disposable.
Yeah, just because if I bought an album. And this doesn't. I'm not going back to vinyl. I'm just talking about CDs. But if I saved up and spent £10 on an album, and I didn't like it the first time round, I'd at least listen to it 5 times more because I just paid £10 for it.
Right.
And loads of music I've got. You know, it wasn't the tracks that were the hits off of it that I liked, or it wasn't the tracks that you know. You have to.
Some of the gems. Yeah.
Yeah. And nowadays, I just think if I listen to an album and it doesn't instantly grab me, it's just too easy to just go and listen to something else.
Yeah, totally. Well, I mean, like we just finished making a new record and you know, put so much thought into the sequence and the order of the album and what kind of journey it'll take the listener on, and you know, knowing good and well that we're in a singles streaming world where most people listen to the music on their phone.
Yeah.
Me too, you know. Yeah. But every now and then, it's nice to just hold an album and look at it and listen to it as it was intended to be. And I think there's still people who kind of care about that. But
I make the effort to listen to an album. I'm still much more of an albums guy than a singles.
Yeah.
Sort of. But it's just too easy on Apple Music. You know, if you subscribe to like Apple Music or whatever, it's just too easy to just get halfway through or whatever and just go, into something else now.
Well, there's so many options too.
Yeah, which is a great thing, I guess, in terms of discovery. You know, one minute, you know, I guess thousands of people will discover you like that. So I suppose with it, the downside is also potentially the upside, isn't it?
Yeah,
but I do think, you know, people should, you know, if an artist has gone to the effort of making an album, then do them the respect of listen to the album.
Hey man, I don't care how you listen to it as long as you listen to it, you know.
But so you picked up Jeff Beck and Billy Gibbons,
Johnny Winter.
Yes.
Yeah, there was a guy in Texas too, because I know there's a lot of guitar players who
one or two
who watch this. if any of you guys can get your hands on this record, if for any of you blues fans, or just fingerstyle tasty guitar fans, there's this record that I got when I was a kid called Alan Haynes Live at the Big Easy, and he's a Houston guy,
right?
And so he grew up playing with a lot of the giants. Like he played a lot with Johnny Winter,
right?
I have some bootleg recordings of him with Stevie Ray Vaughan,
right,
where he beautiful voice too, so he sings like Little Wing, and Stevie's playing, but he got to play with like Albert Collins and Albert King and some of the heavy hitter guys. But I saw him at the Dallas Guitar Show when I was really young and was obsessed with his playing, but he never said his name on stage, so I didn't know. But I knew he played in Austin a lot.
Yeah.
And he said playing in Austin Saturday night. And I remember that, so I convinced my dad to drive me to Austin, and we drove up and down 6th Street until I heard him. and his playing was so unique that I could pick it out. And it was just a Strat plugged into a Vibra King, really glassy, beautiful tone. And I learned that the record's called Live at the Big Easy, and I learned it note for note as a kid. I played it so much to the point that one day my dad snapped and was like, "Psh, done, no more."
Brutal. I'm trying to. That is one of those Live at the Big Easy. Is I'm going. I think I'm sure I have, but I'm going to go check it out after this for sure.
Yeah, it's a great album. If you can, I don't think it's online.
Right.
Maybe you can find it on
kind of YouTube or something.
Yeah, on
like
eBay or whatever. But
I'll check it out.
It's a good one. That was a huge one for me.
Now, how long were you in Nashville for before you hooked up with Caleb? And what are those? I still can't get over how daunting it must be. You're in Music City where everyone's a guitar player.
You can't throw a rock without hitting somebody.
Everyone's a great guitar player.
Yeah.
So, how does that even pan out for someone who's? Are you naturally just very confident in your own ability, or are you naturally a shy person? I mean, how did it?
No, not. I mean, confident in certain ways, but we're living in the age where there's 38-year-old guitar players watching this right now who are just
insane,
psychotically good, just insane.
Yeah.
I had the desire to start a band and to write songs and to try to incorporate the guitar styles that I love into songs that I could hopefully then take to my generation.
Yeah.
Because I grew up hanging out. I used to work in this guitar shop in Paris, Texas. And the only people I could talk about the music I was into with were the old guys who would come in on their lunch breaks.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to, but then I realized with rock and roll that my friends would get into it. So if I were to play even if I went through a big punk rock phase, if I were to play a NoFX song or something on my guitar and get one of my friends to pay attention, oh, this guy likes cool music, and then play a Jimi Hendrix riff, they'd be like, that's sick, And I got really, really just into rock and roll and just started kind of doing the same homework with rock and roll that I did with a lot of the blues guys. And
who's the standout for you then on the rock and roll?
It was Tom Petty. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. Song-wise,
yeah.
I needed those songs when I moved to Nashville because I was confident that I knew how to play the guitar a little bit. That was I could kind of hang if someone played some chords. That was fine. But I wanted friends and a gang to travel around with and make noise. And so I saw this was later. This is actually after I met Caleb. I saw the Running Down a Dream documentary, and seeing those guys in a van and out there earning their stripes. I wanted to do that. And so when I met Caleb, I was desperately trying to make friends. Going to restaurants and being like, hey, you like music? Just annoying people. And when Caleb and I met, we became pretty fast buds and jammed, and it was just downhill from there.
Downhill in a good way, though, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's all right.
Just downhill with the...
I see what you mean, downhill with the wind behind you as opposed to down.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We had the foot on the gas, man. And then we met Graham Whitford in New York City at a radio station who was introduced to me as the guy that was going to put me out of a job. He was into all the same records like Humble Pie and Bad Company, and I heard him play at this Guitar Center competition when they did those King of the Blues contests. And I was like, come be in the band. He was going to Berkeley at the time, and I think within like 2 days he had dropped out and moved to Nashville and was sleeping on my couch. And then our bass player Noah has this really angry bass sound and sings like a bird. And so it was perfect. So
That's great.
So,
because
behold, we have a band.
Now, your band kind of career, so how many years the band been going? About 8 years now? 8?
Well, so 7 years with everybody. Caleb,
Right.
Caleb and I met and started jamming 10 years ago.
Okay. Now, I had a little listen. I've only been able to hear 2 songs off the new record because this,
Because it's not out
it's
yet.
not out yet.
Yeah.
You've got like the pre-release songs in there, and they're great songs. It's proper kind of rock band kind of songs, and I can definitely see a kind of an evolution from the previous album. You definitely the self-titled, Tyler Bryant kind of Shakedown band. But if you go back 4 or 5 years before that to the first album, that one's definitely different.
Yeah.
You can.
We're kids.
Yeah. I wouldn't put it down. Not in a way like different bad, just different where kind of finds like maybe it's probably still a little bit more rock and roll with the emphasis on the
roll.
on the roll bit, as opposed to
the
now
roll is
emphasis
the
on
blues and
yeah.
rock and roll. The roll is the groove and the soul and I think that's still in a lot of what the Shakedown does. But we're just experimenting. And I was talking with Warren Haynes about this 2 nights ago, and he said, I feel like the secret to staying inspired is to constantly experiment.
Yeah.
And each record changes depending on what you're listening to.
Mm-hmm.
Like whenever I found out about Soundgarden, everything changed. And then it was like, oh, well, how was I missing this?
Yeah.
Like this magic my whole life. And then Stone Temple Pilots, and why can't I play play with the elements I love from a Muddy Waters record and a Soundgarden record, and write a song that's inspired by these 2 things that maybe will sound new. Just experimenting.
You can definitely hear that. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? You talked about playing guitar and trying to relate to someone of your generation. And I think that is a lot of people, I think I've kind of grown up always loving records that were in my dad's collection, so Zeppelin and Free and, Edgar Winter and loads of cool stuff. And it was quite easy, I think, for my dad's generation and maybe younger people than him to sort of go, oh, you kids today, you're just listening to the same, it's like this band here is just the same as this band here in a sort of a negative way.
Right.
And I'm sort of going, yeah, but Dad, it's like, how am I really supposed to relate to a musician who's like dead now or 50 years older than I am?
Right.
I think it's kind of okay for people to just go, so what if it's got the same flavour of a song from...
Yeah.
Because it won't have the flavour might be the same, but the way that band's generation receives it and reacts with it and interacts with it won't be the same, because how can they possibly have something in common with a band that's 50 years older than
I know.
them?
Well, that's like the whole argument with Greta Van Fleet,
Yeah.
which I have a field day in the comments with this. But I know that's a thing that, but there's our band manager's daughter.
Yeah.
It's her favorite band, and I heard he asked her, he's like, do you like Led Zeppelin? And she's like, I don't know who that is. So a lot of this stuff is new for the kids, and that's cool.
That's what I'm saying. I think that's fine and almost normal. It's just like, so what if they're inspired by Led Zeppelin? I mean, that's great, but they should be coming to the, they will open up a new audience of people who won't know won't care who Led Zeppelin is, don't want to go and listen to a band where half of them are dead anyway. It's just like, and I know half of them are dead,
I think it's just good.
Unless one of them dies pretty soon, in which case maybe they are. But it's like, so I'm a big, I want to see, the next generation of bands coming through and saying, I'm just going to it's a rock band, it's my own flavour of it. And if you compare me to a band that was around 40 years ago, great, but it's not a negative.
Yeah, totally. I still think there's something to, with that, I agree with what you're saying. I think there's something to, when you hear a band that has that original thing that you go, I don't think I've ever heard that before.
Yeah.
And that doesn't come by, that doesn't happen all that often, but when you do hear it, it's so great, those bands that influence the other bands, and I think that it's important to strive to be one of those bands.
Yeah.
And sometimes you fail miserably, but at least you're like trying to do something original.
Every band will have its own, it's a melting pot, isn't it, of just like influences and flavors, and what comes out the end is something unique. You can feel the inspiration, but it's not a covers band. It's not
absolutely.
When did you? I'm always, when I played the records for the first time, I suppose I had an expectation that I was going to hear some great guitar playing. I wasn't expecting to hear great singing, and I think actually I wasn't expecting to hear guitar where you're so comfortable just playing kind of groove-based riffs. It doesn't feel like the album is trying to go, look at me.
It's not super shreddy.
No, it's sort of, and I know you can do that, so it's interesting. It's kind of like it's almost feels mature in a sense. But what you hear are great songs, a great vocalist, great like groovy.
Thanks, man.
Riffs, if you like, complemented by good, all the rest of the band. It just feels like a proper band.
Well, that's something that it was very intentional, to focus on the songs more than the guitar heroics, like that's what Instagram's for me, because I'm a guitar nerd. Like it's sort of hard to even be in here with all of this stuff and have a conversation without,
Yeah, what's that? Can I plug into that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. We can do that as well.
Yeah. But when it comes down to like making the record, I think that we've been building this fan base so grassroots and on our own for a long time, and luckily we have a really good team behind us now helping us out, to kind of spread the word about our rock and roll flag that we're flying. But the thing, especially, and you talked about the progression of the records, like Wild Child that came out in 2013, 18, 19 years old, there's a lot of like just really cool youthful energy in that record, getting a million doors slammed in your face, pre heartbreak, playing 500 shows to absolutely no one, pre 2 band vans that were going to break down and drain all your money. It's like there's this energy that I love to hear in that record, because I can remember and recall the excitement that we had when we made it, and we recorded, pretty much in 6 days.
Wow.
And then did some overdubs, and it was just fun. There's songs on there that are completely live, and then the next EP we put out was the Wayside, which was a full length album that only an EP got released because we were signed to Republic Records, and we're living in a singles world, right. So people's attention spans aren't what they used to be. So put out less music, don't overload them, man. Okay, statistics. And so we have this EP, and we took a chance with a song called The Wayside, which was a song that was written never for the Shakedown. It was just written to be written in because we felt like it, and we were hanging out, and it originally had a saxophone solo.
I might have heard a little bit about this from Caleb.
Dude, yeah, it's just funny. But
I looked everywhere for a saxophone before he turned up. I couldn't find one.
I wouldn't do that on the internet. But when we recorded that song, I remember the first time that we played it in London, everyone was singing, and that was the first time we'd ever been like vulnerable with lyrics in it. And rather than just having a bunch of people standing around waiting on a guitar solo, to like see that a song is actually important to someone, and then just thinking about the what I look for in songs, like the way that I want to live my life to a Tom Petty song. And I'm not saying that song is that for anybody. I could only hope like to write a song that would be that important to someone. But that's why we write so many songs, because we realize the importance of the song. And that's one thing that I got from Nashville. They call it Music City, but it should be called Song City. Like That's a songwriting town. And each record has just kind of been getting more and more into how can we rock, how can we incorporate the guitar in a tasteful way that's not gonna detract from the song.
It's a really, do you feel kind of wise beyond your years as a musician. That's I probably phrased
funny you
that.
should ask.
It's
No,
I don't know if I phrased that sort of right, but I look at a lot of artists that I like, particularly guitar players. Sorry, particularly artists that start off and get that first rung on the ladder as a guitar player, if you like, more of like a virtuoso-y kind of guitar player. Some guys never work out that it's about the songs, and some guys just take 20 or 30 years to get to the point where it is about the songs.
Yeah.
But you're like, I don't know, it's almost like you kind of, I can play guitar, I'm really good, but I just want to write songs. All seem to happen like really quickly. It's just interesting. I don't say it's not really. It's more of an observation rather than a sort of a question as to why or how. But.
Well, I mean, I still get people, writing me every day on social media and stuff, being like, "Your new stuff's lame. You need more guitar solos." But all I can do is just do what's true to me and kind of try my best to move from that place and make decisions based on that. And it's just more satisfying to me to have a moment, and Shakedown shows are different than the records, like, because we expand upon things, and I think that's another thing to just keep it interesting. Like the record is one way, which there's maybe one song on the record that doesn't have a guitar solo. Like there's still guitar solos, and it's more guitar than most people's records have. But to be honest with you, I get bored from records that are just overloaded with guitar. It wears me out. And that's just my own personal opinion. Do I listen to a lot of them? Yeah.
I think you can, heavy guitar virtuoso records for me tend to be, there's the initial, man, this guy's good. And then there's like, oh my God, that was crazy. And then, but normally 6 or 7 minutes in, I'm just like, it's like, there's no hook or, and all my favorite guitar solos are fundamentally the little 20 seconds of what takes a great song, crescendos up to just make it epic. And then it's like back into the song again. That's like, I think we were talking about the time that, talking to Caleb about the when you did all the AC/DC dates, and I'm just sort of going, that's exactly what they are. Great songs, and then it climaxes to some crazy Angus Young thing, and it's back into the song, and it's like,
it's the song that's getting the people in the back. And I think that getting to do that huge tour with AC/DC and going out with guns, and you get on stage, and there's this big, I think, misunderstanding about what it means to be on a tour like that. It's actually it's somewhat overwhelming because you're like the plastic wrap on an album that people have been dying to get. So you have these people who've seen AC/DC 50 times. They've got their patches. They've been camping in the parking lot, pre-gaming. They're ready. And then it's like, wait, who are these ladies on stage and why are they here, And then we have to be like, hello, it's us.
It's really sad, isn't it? Because much as I love the story, and I love the analogy to the plastic wrapper on the CD thing. But I have been that guy, which is just like, do I really have to sit through 2 support bands before like the band I really want to see comes on?
Yeah.
But I need to not be that guy in the future.
Well,
I need to be the
everyone was a support band at
chance.
some time, and so we're just glad, like, if anyone's going to ask us to be a support band, we had to audition for that tour. We got 3 shows, and it was, if Angus likes you, then you can do the world tour. And I remember I called my girl, and I was like, Can you like come up here to Denver, because tomorrow I'm gonna find out if Angus Young thinks we're trash, and I don't know how I can carry on if he thinks we suck. But doing those shows, you realize without a song that someone can hold on to, you might get the people in the front 2 rows, but you're not going to get the people in the back of the arena. And we were writing songs on the tour trying to go, well, we need to have something that's going to make people want to put their hands in the air, or as soon as they get their $14 beer, throw it up and spill it on their friend because they're having fun. That's the kind of songs that we were trying to find.
When was I looked at, I was looking on your blog and talking to Caleb earlier on, and you did some insane support tours. I mean, it's like you didn't do like 3 decent. You did a lot of insane stuff. And I asked him earlier, and I'll ask you the same question. It's like, at what point did you ever sort of think to yourself, I don't know if I, it's almost like a comfort blanket now. We could just carry on being the support act, and it's money, and we know there's going to be a crowd, and and a big crowd.
Yeah.
Or at what point do you go, oh man, even though the gigs are there, we really need to just do our own thing, even though the whole thing's going to be scaled down and it'll feel maybe like building it up again. I mean, and how do you? Well, how do you deal with that?
The truth is, we were doing that while we were out on those big tours. Like, we did 2 nights at the Queen Elizabeth Stadium with Guns, and then the next night we played Dingwalls in London, which is a 350, 400 person club.
Yeah.
And we did that at every chance we could to try and come to cities. Yeah. If we played a big show, if the promoter would let us, then book a club and try to establish our own thing. Because, and I think that's one thing that we were very aware of on that tour. Like I said, you're an afterthought when you're an opening band. You're lucky to have the work and to get. Yeah. For me, it's more about the experience and feeling the rush and letting it fuel my drive moving forward. But it's all about building up our own thing, because the only reason AC/DC's there is because they spent the time earning their stripes, touring in a van, playing in clubs, playing theaters, building it, and focusing on the songs, and obviously great playing and singing, and it takes, everything has to be firing on all cylinders. So, it's very important to us to continue to try and build our own thing, because you can become the opening, the premier opening band.
Yeah, and but it is interesting. I said, particularly as some, you did some amazing tours. Caleb was saying again that I've mentioned Caleb a few times, and I'm realizing that depending on what this video goes. So Caleb's the drummer in the Shakedown, and we did a different video today talking about drums and stuff like that. So apologies if some of these, my questions are sounding similar, but apologies to you if it sounds like I know more than I should. But Caleb was saying that one of the plus sides of doing the support tours with these big bands was that you got to get some real amazing advice from guys, like you say, like Angus, and guys who've been there, done that, a t-shirt. So just, who were are there any, like, 1 or 2 real standout, like, he said X, and it's like, wow, yes, best piece of advice I ever got.
Yeah, I mean, there was one night where I was kind of chatting with Angus backstage, and I said, he said, how's it going? Are you having fun? And I said, yeah, I'm having like the time of my life. It doesn't even feel real. And I started trying to talk to him about Marshall heads, because I was excited because I had just gotten 200-watt full stacks for the tour, because that was another childhood dream. Stand in front of full stacks, hit an A chord, feel the air moving, feel it bounce off the back wall. Like, I wanted that. And so I was like, man, I got these. And we were talking about amps for a second, and I said, I feel like we're learning a little more with each show on how to get the people in the back. Because getting the people in the front, is we were doing that. But without the screens, all you have is the music. I'm as little, to them as they are to me.
Yeah, they never give the screens to the support band, do they?
Not most of the time. Guns did a few times. Did they? And it was so much easier, because people can see your face, and you have the visual element. But without the visual element, you have to rely on the music and the song.
Yeah.
And Angus said to me, you just have to believe that you're going to take them on a journey, and then they'll come with you. So that was a nice lesson in confidence.
Yeah.
Going into those shows. And I think that was probably one of the best pieces of advice. Then another thing that was inspiring to me, it wasn't necessarily advice, but I was out supporting Jeff Beck on the Emotion and Commotion tour.
Mm-hmm.
And I was blown away, because he would get off the bus every day carrying his guitar pretty much. And, he had like a little roll-in cube backstage, or some little digital amp, and was constantly playing. I'd walk past his room, and we became friends after a little bit because I think he realized he wasn't going to get rid of me on the tour. I'd walk by and I'd hear him playing and I'd just, can I listen? You know, and he'd be like, this is really going to freak Nashville out. Watch this, and play something crazy. And just to see someone who's considered to be one of the best guitar players in the whole universe, complete virtuoso legend, still practicing and innovating and coming up with stuff every day. That's it. That's it, man.
Yeah, you can't ever stop learning and ever stop.
We can't master this.
Yeah.
You know, we can learn a lot and we can talk about it, but we can't fully master it. That's what's so awesome about it.
Is Jeff Beck, is he like Yoda though? Do you think is that where he is?
Yeah.
He's like, there's not, maybe, who was the other guy who was pretty cool, Master Windu or something like that, but I think he's full Yoda, isn't he, Jeff Beck?
I think he's pretty much Yoda.
Pretty Yoda, yeah.
Yoda of the Strat.
Or Yoda of the Strat. He's probably been called that before.
Yeah, probably. It's probably the title of a Guitar World or something.
So let's talk about gear, and let's talk about the album and what's coming up for the rest of the year. But gear-wise, you said before we started rolling you weren't really a sort of a gear nerd. So what is it that you need to do to, you know, inspire you to write a cool riff? Is it not gear?
I like playing with sounds, like for riffs. Sometimes it's pulling out a funky pedal, or, you know, I say I'm not a gear nerd. I have a lot of gear, you know.
I'm not a gear nerd. I have 700 guitars and
I count. There's like 50 guitars in my basement, you know. But I say like gear nerd. Like, I don't, you know, when you're like, it's kind of, I don't geek out on like tweaky stuff like tubes or what capacitors are in the amp. Like, that's a little above my comprehension. But when it comes to pedals and amps, I mean, live I'm using one of the 100-watt hand-wired Marshalls, 2 tubes pulled, so it's the 50-watt. That was done on the AC/DC tour by Angus's Tech, because the problem I was having was we were touring in a van and trailer and playing clubs between the shows, and the 100 watts really difficult in the club. But recently I got one of those, the aux boxes.
Cool.
Which is great for the 100-watt head. And then I have an orange Rocker Verb 100. Love it because I can get sustained forever. Strats mainly. Normally I rely on my Strats that have the humbuckers in the back. I have a couple of pink Strats that are kind of my thing.
Pete wants me to ask you a story about a pink Strat, and I've half forgotten what the story is. But it's one that's got lost or stolen.
Yeah, I probably know the story here.
Oh, come on, tell me the story.
So it was right after the release of the Wild Child record. We were we had one of those tours where it was booked by the old dartboard method, where the agent takes a shot of whiskey, spins around in his chair, and throws a dart, and then he does it again, and he throws another dart. So we were driving from Vancouver to Nashville.
Of course, it's a local one then.
Yeah, so we finished the show in Vancouver. We drove for a while. We got to Spokane, Washington, and we're really tired. It was, you know, sun's coming up, and decided we were going to go to get one hotel room. We got 2 hotel rooms. We were going to sleep for a couple hours and get back on the road. Well, I made the mistake of leaving my guitar in the vehicle. I left 2 guitars in there. I had a 65 SG Junior and my main pink Strat. This was a guitar like Steven Tyler had written. Pink, it's like red but not quite on it. When we inducted Steve Cropper into the Songwriters Hall of Fame, I had kind of written the lyrics of Midnight Hour because I had to sing it in front of him and I didn't want to mess it up. And I had Alan Haynes, that other guy that I told you about. He had signed it. So I was really devastated because that was my guitar, my main guitar, and someone smashed it and they took everything. There were 11 donuts in the van, and they ate 10 of them, just to kind of leave like the last one as like an FU, you know. But yeah, so it was missing for 5.5 years, and there's this guitar shop in Spokane called River City Guitars. And I get a phone call from this guy that says, hey, I'm 99.9% sure I'm holding your guitar. And I said, does it say pink? It's like red but not quite on the back. And it kind of describes some of the marks. And he's like, no, but it looks like it's been sanded. So someone had taken sandpaper and sanded off a lot of the character marks. You can still see 2 of the Sharpie marks up there. But then they did all this stuff to change the guitar, like the, you know, just with the wear and stuff. But they didn't change the serial number plate.
And you knew what
I knew the serial number, so I recited it to him, and he's like, "Yep." And so they bought it and sent it to me, overnighted it. So the next day I was playing my guitar that I'd been missing. So in the meantime, my father had borrowed some money to get me another one, and my mom had chipped in, and one of their friends, and that is known as Pinky 2. And Tim Shaw put a humbucker in it for me. Sounds incredible. It's very hot. Trying to keep up with Graham, who has more of the Gibson, sound. He's eating up a lot of space there, so I got to find where I fit in. But when I put this gold pickguard on it, and when I did that on the Pinky 2 guitar, I found that my dad had carved his name and my mom's name and my sister's name and the guy that loaned him the money. And so that became pretty much my main guitar, because I realized, like, yeah, there's a lot of hard work and sacrifice that went into me having this.
That's one of the most beautiful stories, I think. What was the name of the store as well that gave you the Pinky 1 back?
River City Guitars.
River City Guitars.
Spokane.
Top people, and if you live in America, go and buy something from them.
Yeah, they have great. They actually, I went and did some videos for their shop as like thank you.
Man.
Just try and
it's just,
and they're great folks, and it's just kind of like, because they totally took a situation where I was, because for so long I was just paranoid about people being bad, because it's so easy to just go, yeah, everybody sucks, especially in the world we live in where so much of the negative stuff is amplified. To then take a negative situation and for someone to turn it around, and now that guitar doesn't remind me that someone took something from me. It reminds me that someone was generous and returned something. So
that is beautiful. It is really beautiful, and I know a lot of people in shitty places that feel the only thing they can do is steal something to get by, but don't steal guitars. Steal the radio or something that someone can replace. But
anything but the guitar.
Just anything but the guitars. Take the 11th donut. Just leave the guitar.
I remember it was so frustrating when that happened, because we were about to kick off a tour with Rival Sons, and we had to, we had borrowed guitars and played the first show, and it was just like, oh, this sucks.
Anyway. But we were talking about gear, so we've done. I'm glad we asked. The Pinky story. That's an uplifting story. So I like that. Amps wise, you talked about Marshalls, which is kind of cool.
Yep.
Has that always been like you got a British thing? Never felt the sort of some of the great American amp brands.
I played the Fenders for a long time.
Yeah.
And then and I still have. I love the Vibra King based on the Alan Haynes sort of, you're awesome thing. But I have a ton of Fender amps at home, and some old Princetons, and when we're in the studio I love this old Princeton that I bought when I was a kid. It's a 67 that had been black faced, and for the AC/DC tour I was using the Vibra King with the Marshall, but then when we came over here for the Guns tour, Orange hooked us up with some stuff, and I was just in love with the sustain I was getting with the Strat and the pedal combo, and the Orange with the Marshall. It's not like one thing. It's kind of a sum of all parts. But I just liked the sustain that I was able to get from the Rock Reverb.
What was that white stack you were playing on Instagram the other day, where the 412 looks like it's all kind of?
I think they're 215s. It was some.
Wow.
I actually wrote the guy because I was so overwhelmed. I was at Matt's guitar shop in Paris, France, and got to play Jeff Buckley's telly, and the guitar that Malcolm did high voltage on, and one of Mark Knopfler's Strats, and that was some really early Marshall, some rare thing that went to one of their reps' sons, I believe. With those cabinets are super rare. And
it's just a single 15 in each cabinet. It's like a flared. I mean, they look wicked.
That thing? And it sounded wicked too.
Did it?
And that was one of Billy Gibbons' Gretches.
I said that. I think that's like a Billy Bow or whatever. What's it called?
And it had the front pickup was just for show. There's nothing in it, and then the two knobs that don't do anything, and incredibly light. And it said beer on the back.
Beer. Life's nectar. And then we should talk about this. You know, you have your own pedal with a company called Rodenberg, which sounds awesome as well.
Yeah, so this is kind of cool. I just found out that we were doing this morning. Otherwise, I would have brought some gear with me. I would have flown with my Strats.
Well, next time. I say, you know, when you're back in the fall.
I don't think this will be the last time that we do this. But I went on Twitter. No, I found out last night, and I went on Twitter and said, "Does anyone in London have a TB drive I can borrow for the day?" And this sweet girl loaned me her pedal, and this was the 112th one made. We originally set out to make 5 of these, and just through Instagram and stuff, people were asking me about what pedal I was using. So I'll show you.
What is it like? So it's a tube screamer kind of vibe.
Yeah, it's like 2 tube screamers, but with some other options. So there's some switches down here, which I use my boot to kind of activate. Because I play a lot of I have a 31 National resonator that I use, and it can be really tinny. So I need to sometimes, depending on the venue, I just need to kick on the bass to kind of fatten it up. So that's why those are located there. But yeah, it's 2 overdrives in one that can be used as 1 pedal or 2 pedals. I'll show you.
The same circuit each side, or
well, this side has an extra gain stage.
Right.
So without the extra gain stage, here's the clean. So that's kind of a clean boost with the gain.
Yeah, go on.
Gotta get the tape down there.
Yeah.
And then add in the other side. So sustain, lots of sustain.
Where'd you say these are made?
They're made in Germany. So my guitar tech, Logan, who's been with me forever, he got a pedal made by this guy who runs Rodenberg, and I fell in love with it. It became the only overdrive pedal I was using. And it had a few extra switches down here that I didn't need, and a couple other little tweaks. And I just reached out to him and said, "Man, there are kids asking about what the pedal is. Let's make it. Let me try to sell some for you." And also, I just thought it was cool and would be a fun thing to do. And
I like it.
So I'll have to get you one.
Yeah, I'll buy it. It's fine.
This is the first generation. We're on the 3rd now. So we did. This is the Shakedown special. Then we did the Pinky Drive, which we only did 50 of those. There's about 300 of these floating around, and now we're on the Bird Skull edition. And so it's a smaller box, same circuit. They're all the same circuit. They're just kind of different designs and layouts.
808 is still it's the daddy tube screamer.
I like it, but check it out. Whenever you turn the gain up, you can get some gnarly sounds. So.
I knew we'd get to your inner gear nerd at some point. Even
yeah,
though
you got him. You know, it's just nasty.
It's great, man.
I love it.
That's great. I'm just trying to think, hearing you play like that and sort of trying to remember back to some of the influences you said you had right at the beginning of this, but it's just like, it just sounds monster.
Yeah.
It's like Jimi Hendrix meets Eddie Van Halen or something.
Yeah, I love that you can, because it'll totally clean up as well. So for me, it's, coming here and just having one thing that I know I can count on if you wanted to jam, I didn't know exactly what I was getting myself into. So I know it's sort of like a safety blanket for me to have this.
That is great. So let's talk about the album. You have me at a disadvantage because of course I've only heard 2 of the tracks.
I can change that. I know a guy.
But I liked the 2 tracks very much, and so as I mentioned before, it's it's groovy, groovy, heavy, rocky, and your singing is great.
Thank you.
So I think Caleb was saying as well, you recorded most of the album live as well. So
yeah.
Are you a fan of that kind of technique of recording? Do you like the sort of the edginess and the energy that it gives?
Yeah, I do.
The fear?
I do. I like to feel a little bit of the pressure of gotta go now, gotta get it. Whatever gets the energy across, I'm cool with. Not to go back to the song thing, but I'm always of the mindset of like some kid in North Dakota doesn't care how it was recorded as long as it makes him feel good.
Yeah.
But there is a certain thing that happens with the Shakedown. It's not the same if we don't play together. Because everyone has such a unique personality in their playing that when we're kind of leaning into the chemistry that we've built over 7 years of playing together and kind of using the eye contact and the I can hit and Caleb knows that I'm about to do something.
Yeah.
There's this unspoken thing that happens, and when we were up in Brooklyn making this record, we were looking at each other. There was a line of sight, which was I think overall very beneficial to the process.
Yeah, gives it like that old school. Are there any tracks on there that because of that recording process kind of just ended up being different to how you maybe thought they were going to, but you just preferred the way it came out because
absolutely. Like there's one of my favorite songs on the record, which you'll hear at some point, I'm sure, was this song called "Couldn't See the Fire." It's the very last song on the record, and when it was written as like this kind of chill, coasty blues thing. It was like a and it ended up being this. Oh shit! Got holes in my shirt. This is my church shirt. It's my holy one. It ended up being this like more kind of like in the realm of Alice in Chains meets Sabbath meets kind of I don't know. That song has a huge guitar solo.
Yay!
And it felt so good because the band we tracked it live together and. I was in the control room because I don't necessarily dig playing with headphones. I feel a little isolated, and so the monitors were just blasting, and I'm looking at Caleb through the glass, and Graham was in there with him, and Noah was in there with me listening to the monitors too, and just soloing and kind of feeling like, whoa, man, we were so excited by the new song, and it has that same energy that you get when you're in the thick of a live show. And I ended up just completely running out of frets and running out of strength to bend any higher, and it all kind of just falls apart, and I love it. Like those sort of moments where it's just raw and visceral and dangerous. So yeah, man, there's a lot of those moments in the record where it just kind of fell into place because we were jamming and allowing it to.
Well, I'm super looking forward to seeing that. Now, and to support the record, you're touring pretty much as soon as you get home, aren't you?
Yeah. As soon as we get home, we're actually we're doing a co-headline tour with the Temperance Movement.
Another great band.
Yeah.
Great band.
That's going to be great. We're kind of working our way around the States with them and doing some festivals and making plans to get back over here and, cause a ruckus.
I don't know what's been agreed in terms of coming back to Europe like that, but fingers crossed it'll be at some point later this year.
Yeah, I'll come by and bring some guitars so we can.
Amazing! Yeah,
so
if we get, we'll be a bit more organised next time, and we can properly nerd out. And I definitely want to come see a show. I'm sure some of the guys here will want to.
Yeah, I'm gonna get you one of these pedals too. I think you need to have one on that board.
Well, I'll find something to. Do you know what I was saying the other day? It's like this is the first like sort of proper board that I've had. And I've now got what all the customers have, which is just for absolutely no reason at all. I just want to change a pedal.
Yeah.
I don't dislike any of the pedals. I've just got this I just need to put a different one on there to cure this weird addiction.
I know. I just built a board from scratch.
Big board.
I built a big board this time.
Yes.
And I used but now that I've built the big board, I built one with the loop switching and everything because with some of the new songs we have to go from really quiet, sort of spaced out tones to thick, octave, fuzz, real quick. And I can't be singing and entertaining and
tap dancing,
doing the old tap dance. So I got it all.
You need to watch some old Bing Crosby lessons. He could do all that.
Yeah.
And it's just
Dang. Uncle Bing. That's what we tell Caleb. But yeah, so I had a board built in Nashville by this company XTS who understands how to do all that, and but now I'm going. I really use these 3, so I'm going to build a flat board that
Absolutely.
just has those.
Well, bring it all in next
Yeah.
time you're over. Look, it's been great seeing you, man.
Hey, the captain, man, finally made this happen. That's great.
Honestly, it's my pleasure, absolute pleasure. Good luck with the new album. Good luck with the tour. Everyone that watches this, at least, go and stream a song. At least see if you like it. I think you will. If you've got taste in kind of cool guitar rock music stuff, I think you'll like it a lot. So yeah, good luck with it. Good luck with the tours, and I will hold you to that. Yes, next time you're over in the UK, come down and we'll geek out with some more stuff. But
you got it.
You feel like you feel like you need to end this.
I need to end this.
Come
with
on
something.
then.
Thanks for having me, man.
You're welcome. Happy days.
Fun.
Cool.